Islam to share with you. These gatherings are of the utmost importance, and it is necessary that we as a community bring ourselves, our brothers, our sisters, our children to this type of gathering as much as we can. And in order for that to be successful, it is also important to try to be as inclusive as possible. My personal advice on this matter, how to bring in more people and bring in the youth in these type of gatherings, is to shorten the programs. Don't have so many parts to the program. Or you segment it in a way where the people who want to stay longer, they can, but the main content is offered first. Because this member is the legacy of the Prophet. This is the inheritance of the Prophet. The Prophet didn't leave you anything, any money, anything, but he gave you this member. And the member cannot be abused. This is the inheritance. And the member symbolizes knowledge. So the one who sits on it represents that. So there's a responsibility on the speaker as well as the listener. Now, when we talk about inheritance, tonight I will talk about the idea of not only inheritance, but also of fatherhood. What is fatherhood in Islam? And why is this important? So just to preface the whole talk, as you know, I teach at the university, so a lot of my talks are more like a class and rather than a speech and oration. So I'll give time from time to time. Maybe we'll have questions at the end, and we'll use this as a forum. It's not a show. It's just a tool for learning. So that being said, tonight I want to talk about fatherhood in Islam. Fatherhood is one of the most important principles of Islam. Not just your physical father, but we go back to the hadith and we find that Ana wa Ali abawa hadhihi al-ummah. So the Prophet ﷺ said of himself that I am the father of this ummah. Not the Prophet, not the Rasul, the Nabi, the Wali. This is true, all of it is true. But in one hadith, he specifically says, I am the father of this ummah. So he gave himself the designation of father. And he gave the designation to Ali alayhi salam as the father. What kind of father is the Prophet and what kind of father is Ali? They're spiritual fathers. So from this hadith, we realize that not only do we have a physical father who gave birth to us in this life, and God showered ni'mah and His blessings upon us through this father, our education, our well-being, our sustenance, all came from this father. So we have a lot to thank Allah for this father. But then there's a father who gave you the everlasting life, not just this life. Because your father gave you this life and then you'll die. But there's a father who gave you everlasting life. Al-Baqa. In Jannah. Paradise. In the everlasting life. This is the spiritual father who gave birth to you, your spirit. And that type of father is what the Prophet ﷺ is referring to. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the first father. This is not just a Christian concept. We also have this concept. The Christians say He's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? The Father. They refer to Him as the Father. We also have this concept in Islam. Allah is the Father and the Mother. He's the Father and the Mother. So some other time we'll talk about the station of the Mother. Tonight we'll talk about the station of the Father, because tonight I'm going to talk about Abu Talib. Now, Abu Talib, when I was asked to give this talk about Abu Talib, I thought to myself, we've heard a lot, especially from a lot of Shia centers, this argument, this discussion, whether or not Abu Talib died as a Muslim. I mean, how many times have we heard this discussion? Every majlis about Abu Talib is about this topic, whether or not he died as a Muslim. What is the preoccupation with Shias in trying to prove Abu Talib died as a Muslim? It's between him and God. Okay? It's between him and God. Why are we concerning ourselves now, 1400 years later, whether this man died as a Muslim? I'll tell you why. And why this is important. Why this is of the utmost importance. Because the lineage of Rasulullah was a pure lineage, all the way from Adam. In the hadith, there was not a single one of his fathers who was a disbeliever. Every one of them was a muwahid, a believer, a monotheist. So Allah preserved the light, the Muhammadan light, from Adam ila al-Khatam. The light was preserved because if any one of them had become a disbeliever, that light would have been extinguished. So it was necessary, and God made it a condition to keep the light, the Muhammadan light, which pre-existed our being. أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهَ نُورِي. As the hadith says, the first thing that God created was my light, the Muhammadan light. كُنْتُ نَبِيًّا وَآدَمْ بَيْنَ الْمَاءِ وَالطِّينِ. I was a prophet when Adam was between water and clay. While Adam was before he came to be, Prophet Muhammad was already a prophet in the eyes of God. He didn't have manifestation in physical form. Now, why do we say Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim? Right? Wa al Ibrahim. So what is this deal with Muhammad wa alihi, Ibrahim wa alihi? So Allah is saying something, that He's preserving nubuwah and imamah and risala in the father's line, the line of paternity. It is something essential. So now let us go back to Abu Talib. Why is it essential to know that whether or not Abu Talib was a Muslim or not? We know, of course he was. It's an obvious thing. Because he was the wali of the Prophet. God gave the wilaya. Now there's wilaya and walaya. Walaya with a fatha means guardianship, protectorate. Who was a protector of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It was Abu Talib. Abu Talib protected him his whole life. Without him, there would be no Islam. Abu Talib protected his nephew. He was the guardian. And this guardianship is no simple thing. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. Allah is the guardian. Al-mu'minuna awliya'u ba'duhum ba'd. The believers are guardians of one another. So God is saying, your guardian is the believer, not the unbeliever. The one who's going to protect you, protect your interests, safeguard you. So God appointed Abu Talib as the guardian of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So this is one of the evidences of his Islam. Whether he verbally said it is a secondary matter. The evidence is through action. Now, he protected Islam, and God gave him sharaf of being the protector of the Prophet. What a station to be the protector. Imam Ali is called Saif al-Islam. He's giving all these different titles. Saif, he's the sword of Islam. So he protected the Prophet, he protected the message. Abu Talib also had that station. Now, it is important to know, how did Abu Talib get the reputation of being a non-Muslim? Right? Who did this to him? One of the greatest champions of Islam. They didn't even do this to Ali. And they hated Ali. So why did they go after his father? This is the point. Precisely this. Because they hated Ali, they went after his father. Because they had a problem with Ahlul Bayt, they went after the root of the Ahlul Bayt. Who is the father of Ahlul Bayt? Abu Talib. He is the father, he is the lineage. He is the father of all the Imams. We say Imam Ali is the first Imam and we end the discussion there, period. But the man is based according to his father. He has the qualities of his father. Every person has the qualities of his father. If you see it's a hadith, if you see any goodness in you, look to your father. Look to your father if you see any goodness in you. This is a hadith. And thank Allah that Allah gave you a father who gave you these qualities. So we look at Imam al-Mutlaq, Imam Ali alayhi salam, and we see the great station that he had. Should we not look at his father? The one who raised him in partnership with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You look at the qualities of the father to see the son. So all of the great qualities we find in Ali, they came from somewhere. They came from Abu Talib. Now, go back to this question, why did Abu Talib get this reputation? Because the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt who wanted to delegitimize the school of Ahlul Bayt and the authority of the Imams and the wilaya, the series of wilaya that was going from one generation to the other, they wanted to cut that, squash that. They went after the root of the problem. The root of the problem is the father. If you can discredit the father, then you can have an argument to discredit the sons. Let me give you another example, a common example, okay? If you have a teacher, and the teacher has 50 students, to go after 50 students or 100 students is a lot of work. You have to find something bad about each one of those students and create a scandal with each one of those people. It's a lot of work. Okay? Just discredit the teacher, and your job is done. Oh, this teacher is not trained, he's not qualified, he's a charlatan, he's this, he's that, he's involved with this group and that political group and so on and so forth. Discredit the teacher, end of story. The students will have no way in this world. They'll never be successful. And this is what the authorities have always done, is not to go after the students, they went after the teacher. So, the reason why Abu Talib has this reputation, and to this day people are arguing and discussing, why is it a topic? Have you thought about that? Why is it still an argument? Why is it even a part of our discussion, our discourse? Every scholar comes up, has to prove again and again and again why Abu Talib was a Muslim. There's a reason for this. Some of it is a little excess, but the real reason is that in order that the enemies have tried to discredit the whole lineage of imamat by attacking the father. Right? And this is why we see that this principle of fatherhood goes back, it goes deep. It's not just your father, it's your whole lineage. Why do we respect Sadat? Why? Just because of the father. Even if this person is a scoundrel. just because of the father. Because your father had a good name. Your father was so and so. So this principle of fatherhood is a religious, spiritual principle. And the lineage of imamat, of wilayat, conjoins with the family of Muhammad and Ali through Abu Talib. It is as if Abu Talib, Muhammad is the prophet, and he ends the silsila or the lineage of prophets, and Abu Talib is the beginning of imamat. This is the importance of Abu Talib. To know the son, you must know the father. Now, not all fathers are righteous. This is also an important point. Just because we see a righteous son does not mean that the father is necessarily righteous. But in this case, there's plenty of evidence for this. We have to be balanced. Not every son of every good father is righteous. Every human being will be judged by himself. At the end of the day, and then the day of judgment, every human being, no matter how close you are to the Prophet or the Imam in relation, your deeds will outweigh any lineage. So give up the hope that you will be saved on shafa'ah alone. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. This is against divine justice. Shafa'ah is near to the people who do good works. Because shafa'ah means like, I'm vouching for you. Right? What is shafa'ah? It means like, I give you my recommendation. A recommendation letter. So, your personal honor is at stake. Yep. So the Prophet has to be judicious in who he gives shafa'ah to. What shafa'ah means is that, look, just overlook these small defects. But overall he's good. I'll vouch for him that overall he's good. That's where shafa'ah comes in. Because his own honor before God is at stake here. His own sense of justice is at stake here. You cannot give blanket shafa'ah. It goes against the principles of deen, of divine justice. So now, the principle of fatherhood, going back to this idea, goes back to this idea that we have two fathers, a physical father and a spiritual father. The spiritual father is one who gives you life and gives you birth in the spiritual realm. Now, it is important also that we see, just like there's father-son relationship, there is also a father-son relationship after the Prophet and after the time of the Imams. And what that means is that there are certain people who have spiritual authority in wilayah. Here, now, today. You must find them. You must find them and follow them. Who are those people who have spiritual authority and guidance for you like a father, who can guide you like a father? Someone who holds fast to the book. And so on. That's another discussion for another day. We will talk about what that means. We talked tonight about fatherhood. Next time we'll talk about teacher. What is a teacher? What is the criteria of a teacher? Who can be your teacher? Do you need a teacher? And everything in life you needed a teacher. From your professional life to learning play an instrument, to learning to play sports. Anything in life you needed a teacher. Even when you were trying to learn how to drive. There was nothing in life you did without a teacher. What about the deen? Where's your teacher? People who come here, speakers who come here and there and give you a little bit, that's like going to like a job fair. That's not a job. It's a job fair. Okay? Everybody, all the companies come and they put their placard there and they say, hey look, this is our company, this is what we do, this and this and that. Okay? Don't be deceived. You just went to the job fair. You don't have a position at any one of those companies. Okay? So that's what it is. If you only invite speakers who come and give you one small dose here and there, it's like going to a college fair or a job fair. You get to see what's what, and you come home, but you come with nothing. You have no job. Okay? You need to be trained. We all need to be trained in the deen. This is essential, and this is what's lacking in our community, all of our communities. We must get away from the ritual, or keep it to a minimum, and we must go into spiritual training. Build ourselves spiritually. Then we will thrive as a community. And I see most of you are probably fathers. So now, this is where this principle comes in. Be that spiritual father for your children as well. You have children, you're already a physical father. It's done for you. You can't escape that. But now your responsibility is to be the spiritual father or to bring him to someone who can. So this was the point about the importance of Abu Talib in the history of Islam, why it is necessary to revere this person who protected the Prophet, who sheltered him, who was the backbone of Islam, the backbone. Up there with Sayyidah Khadija, up there with the close companions at the very beginning, he supported him all the way. And he was the father of the Imams. Don't just think of 12 Imams. Think of the father. And respect that. And realize why the enemies of Ahlul Bayt try to create doubt with respect to his character and his personality and his Islam. Where did this come in the hadith? And why did it come? How did this come into the hadith? Think about that. And that itself, the very fact that there is a hadith discrediting him is proof of his importance in Islam. Because nobody could attack Ali alayhi salam. Nobody could attack him. His credentials were clear, crystal clear. But they tried to get him other ways. Through creating doubt. And remember, in that time period, people really understood these things. I'll give you an example. Okay, the Prophet came one time into the masjid, and some of the Arabs were competing with one another. And so the Prophet asked them, "What are they talking about? What are they competing in?" And they said, "This one is an alama. This one is this guy who's doing this talking is an alama because why?" This is Prophet said, "Why?" He said, "Because he knows the lineages." He knows the names of the lineages. And so the Prophet said, this is not what it means to be alama. Ilm is three things. And the hadith goes on. Al-ayat, al-muhkama, and so on. Okay? So he corrected it, he said, look, so what the point I'm trying to make is that at the time, the Arabs knew the importance of lineage. So for this hadith to be fabricated against Abu Talib at that time is more important. If somebody says something now, whatever, they don't know what they're talking about. Right? Somebody says, oh, the Quran, what is this? It's nothing. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't even speak Arabic. All right? But the Arabs who spoke Arabic and who were masters of Arabic, if they were to say something against the Quran, that would be a serious thing. Right?
Okay.
So to create a fabricated hadith against Abu Talib at that time period is a serious thing. It's a serious threat. Okay? So now, fatherhood and the family of the Prophet. We go to Baqi, Jannat al-Baqi. Jannat al-Baqi, as you know, is a place where lovers of Ahlul Bayt go and they feel sad. But the nature of that place, something about it. Why? Because you are reminded of the Madlumiyah of Ahlul Bayt and how they were persecuted. You're constantly reminded of that. Now, one of the things which is a good thing about Baqi is it reminds you of the grave. Like in Islam, that's how it should be. It should be simple. This whole mausoleum, the gold domes and all that, it's excess. Somebody does that out of love, it's a separate thing. But the true model is to keep it simple. But that's not why the Wahhabis did it. It was out of hatred. They destroyed the mausoleum, they destroyed the graves, they destroyed the markings, and all memory of Ahlul Bayt for a specific reason, for hatred. So if you see the hatred of the Ahlul Bayt in the 19th century, what was going on, can you imagine the hatred that the people, the Arabs, felt at that time, and the oppression that Ahlul Bayt was feeling during their life? All of them, to the point where, say, the Fatima's grave is not even known. This is a sad, sad situation. The daughter of the Prophet is so disrespected. So disrespected. And the children, the grandsons. Just put yourself in the shoes of the Prophet. To see your children, your virtuous, righteous children being disrespected. This is the thing that when you go to Baqi, you feel the pain of Ahlul Bayt. You feel the pain of the suffering that each one of those imams, there were so many imams there. The 4th, the 5th, the 6th. Companions of the Prophet. Family of the Prophet. It's all family. Because the whole graveyard is family of the Prophet. And the Muslims do not have the decency to do anything well with that place. So it is a place which brings about sadness because it reminds you. But from another perspective, it reminds you of the persecution that Ahlul Bayt feel, and it reminds you also of the true condition of the believer in this world. But the true condition of the believer is that they will face trials. They will face persecution. And the Imams are perfect examples of that. So I end there, inshallah. If there's anything else we can discuss, as I said, my method is more of like a lecture style, teaching style. So if people want to ask questions, we can open the floor. If that's okay with the board.
No problem.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Fatherhood and Salat Baqi. They have any relation?
I'm sorry, the
Fatherhood.
Oh, fatherhood. I mean, it has the same basic ideas, the same basic principles of wilaya. Your father is the wali. He is a father, and he holds the position of being the wali. He's the guardian. So that idea of the jurist as being the protector of the Islamic land has the same principle, yes. Definitely. questions.
You mentioned that God is our Father.
Yes.
Elaborate on that.
Right. Again, when we look at fatherhood, not in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense, as in Allah is Ar-Rabb. So one of the principles of fatherhood is Rububiyyah, Ar-Rabb. And the parent does tarbiyah. Allah does tarbiyah, He's the Rabb. The father has wilaya. Allah is Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. So Allah is the wali. So not to be taken in the physical sense, but in every other sense. But at the same time, if father means your creator, the one who brought you to life, then Allah is the creator. The one who brought you to life. Next time I'll bring some hadith about that. About the description of Allah in those terms. The father and the mother. If there's nothing else, then we'll close here. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we'll have a sit down and have an informal gathering. Thank you all again.